Hey, so welcome back to the Decanted podcast. Good to see everybody again. I'm Rick Craig, your host. Today my guest is chef, owner of Onotria Wine Country Cuisine, Mr. Massimo Navarretta. He's also an old friend, and today we're going to talk about the restaurant business, his journey, and all things food and wine. So enjoy this episode.
Salud. How's that? You good? Good.
Ingredients, number one, the best you can find. Money, it doesn't mean nothing. When you don't buy the right product, the rest is not.
Right.
Even
It doesn't matter how good of a cook you are if you're cooking with
Yeah,
inferior product.
you can paint over, but
Right.
basically you're painting over. The other part of it is understand and explain correctly to the people that work under you, what is your goal? What do you try to do with this? What is your sensibility? How you want the people to see the food you put out there? So that you don't start making dishes one day is like this, another day the same dishes like that. And more importantly, they are in line with your thinking, with your thought process. The thought process is I want food that makes you feel good. Not only because it's rich or it's flavorful, because actually it's good for you.
Right.
This is important to me because too many times people go out, they eat something, they're very excited about it, and it's like, oh God, that was heavy, oh my God, that was so rich. Why? Because the things they put it in, the stuff they try to camouflage. And over the years, one of the most proud things that I ever heard about my food, more than anything else, more all the acclaim and all the other stuff, says, we don't know what you do, but your food really is good.
Right.
Like, not just good because it tastes good, not just good because people can have a different flavor profile, but because I feel good about it. And I laugh, I chuckle because I know what it is. I spend time and money to get the best product, the real product. If I said to you, this is really organic, I know what the difference is in between organic and bullshit organic, right? So, because I'm a farmer, first and foremost, I know what good product looks like. That is important because you can work in a kitchen, you can be a acclaimed chef, but if I threw you a leg of veal and you don't know what does a leg of veal look like, and you don't even know what the knife goes, you're not a chef to me, okay? You can talk all you want, you don't know what's going on.
Right.
Because if you don't know how to, that means you don't know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, you don't have the sensibility, the knowledge, the know-how, how to use and treat every single piece of the leg. Each one of them get treated differently. Each one of them has its own place in the plates, right? And same goes to everything else we touch, from seafood to fish to vegetables. That is really the heart and soul of the cooking part of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me,
You get great ingredients, you treat them with respect,
exactly.
and you prepare the dishes to be delicious. Right.
And be humble enough, because as a great teacher that we are, but also we have to be great students because the world changes all the time. Consumer change, consumer desires change, consumer diet change. I never was one of those guys one day came into restaurants a few years ago, oh my God, I really don't eat this. Oh, I don't eat that. Okay, what can we do for you?
Right.
I make fresh food. For me, it doesn't matter. If you need the garlic, I don't have to put any garlic.
Yeah.
There's no law.
Right, yeah, exactly.
If you don't eat the gluten, there's plenty of food outside the gluten
we can
world.
cook plenty of great food for you without gluten.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where we don't make anything.
Well, and you have to be flexible. It can't be like, this is my menu, this is the way we eat, because then you're just driving customers away.
But also because remember, in the early days, in the culinary art, everything was pre-made. We made all the basic sauce.
Right.
We made all so you go into a classic French cuisine. The hollandaise was made.
The béarnaise
was made. The truffle sauce was made. So when you say, oh, I don't want this, like, okay, well, okay. So we are cooking differently. If I make béarnaise, for whatever reason, whether for the asparagus or something, okay, that's fine. But if you don't want it, I don't have to. Because my cuisine, it doesn't depend on the dish.
Sauce to make it
exactly.
good, right.
It's not a sauce-based culinary experience you do. It's all 360
The sauce
experience.
is supposed to enhance whatever the dish
Exactly.
is. Yeah.
And if you want to do just the lemon and olive oil, that's fine too. It's no big deal. It's as long as the main ingredients, like right now we're doing a Holland asparagus, the white beautiful asparagus. You really don't have to put anything at all. You just blanch them and then a little salt and pepper. You're done, right? But we do it in a light lemon creamy sauce, which if you don't want the cream or the lemon, we can just do it the Parmigiano or nothing at all. So it's still incredible asparagus, because that's the point, the
Right.
asparagus. The sauce is another artistry that we do in order to create a different layer of flavor profile, but it's not the sauce that's going to make the asparagus. If that's the case, then you can put anything underneath. So
Right.
the asparagus become, why am I paying $30 a pound for?
Yeah, exactly, right. If you're just going to cover it up with the sauce. So
Yeah, and that's some of the stuff that sometimes the consumer will be well served if they understand and they really get informed about those things, because it makes the experience more valuable to them, knowing that, and that's what we try to do in our restaurants when we are slow down the process. We close to the customers.
Right.
We do special food, the wine and pairing, because all that is nothing more, nothing less than to be close to the clients, close to the guests, and give a little more information and make a nice evening for them, a little beyond the just eating.
right,
You know, dining is a little more than eating, because you can eat at home too.
right. Or you can get takeout and take it home
Exactly.
and eat at home, right?
When you go, I think nowadays, if a restaurateur really understands what's the next trend, if there is one, it's basically as close you can be to your clients.
Right.
As a more person you can be without to be invasive and annoying and aggressive to your clients, because it's about relationship. It's always been, but it's more now than ever.
So it seems like that job really like influenced you and changed your outlook and set you
Yes.
on a different trajectory than you were going to be on. You weren't going to have 9 houses.
No, well, you
or
know,
9 restaurants with
well,
5 houses. And
essentially.
But what was the next step after that?
Well, the next step up there is like,
I mean, how long did you stay there?
no, I stayed there because I stayed there for about 4 months.
Okay.
And because I already came to California before, and I opened the Chinese market in
Okay, yeah,
Santa
that's
Monica.
what I was going to say. What actually brought you to California?
And so California was my destination.
So that was the end game to begin
Yeah,
with. So-
and what I learned from that experience, 2 things. First of all, I broke away the eggshell that was created around my education, which was the culinary and the hotel school, which basically is what most chefs irrationally they don't want to change, because they come from that culinary experience. So, it's this.
Right.
My experience in that particular restaurant, especially on the scale, it taught me something very different. It was like, okay, you can create a new model. Strangely enough, is an old model, which is basically the old trattoria, ristorante, or osteria type, where you're very close to your customers. And that gives you the wonderful opportunity to know your guest more than any resource that you have out there.
Right.
So then you can actually design a better restaurant. You can design a better menu. You can have a better relationship, which then it turned into, wait a minute, but why would I work for somebody else then?
Right.
And so that gave it the impetus for me to become an independent restaurateur. So it was that format
Right.
that it made me believe, wait a minute, I'm doing this.
I can do this. I don't need to do it for someone else.
Well, it was more like, look, it doesn't matter. They paid me a lot of money. I was one of the highest paid chefs in 1989.
Right.
1989 and 1980. I was the highest paid chef in the country. People don't know that. Not because I negotiated, because the guy was paying a French guy too much.
Yeah, right.
Right? So the first time they gave me the check, I asked.
You didn't even ask for money. You just said, I want to be paid what he's being paid.
So the first time I got the check, I went in the car and was like, oh my God, what is this? You know what I mean? It's like 4 times the regular chef I used to make, right? But that was never the motivation behind.
Right.
What I realized, it was something different. If I can see this and I want to do this, I have to fight all these people to get what it need to be. And this will be for them anyway.
Right.
For me too, because I work in the kitchen, I want to do the right thing, right? But then why am I wasting my time? When they all have their mindset. Every Luigi's, every Mario's, every restaurants, they were all the same. You're
Right.
walking in, they're the same smell, like same garlic powder, the same oregano. So, and they all were happy, fat, and happy because they had 5 restaurants with their name on it, even though, and they were pumping the same crap over and over. And yeah, sure, they were successful in their mind. But as a true, honestly professional, I wasn't happy if I had to serve there. I would stop. I would go back to my farm.
Right.
Because, come back home in Italy or in Europe, because I want to be able to do what I'm passionate about. So I thought the next step is definitely get into a situation where either I'm a partner, which would be the only way because I didn't have any money besides what I was making, or I'm going to find a way to open my little place and then do the things I want to do.
Right.
So the first things when I came in Newport, I became partner with the Luans, and I rejuvenated What's Cooking, then I opened Luciano in Dana Point, then I opened the What's Cooking Express Cuisine at 17th Street, which now is Guarduno. And then after that, I said, okay, we're done. It's time for me to go solo.
Right.
And because I figured, okay, so we are close to the water in Newport Beach. There's not any true Italian seafood and fish restaurants. Everything is fried, everything is Americana, and not even an exciting one, right? So that's when I opened Scampi.
Yeah.
And that was my completely
And that was
first
what
thing.
year?
1989.
1989. Wow.
It was burning hot. It was it was everything I thought and more.
Yeah.
Because I had my fight. Don't get me wrong. I had my customers. They say, hey, you'll never be successful without spaghetti meatball. I say, okay, go to the spaghetti vendor.
Yeah, right,
They have
exactly.
plenty. And I said, the day I make the meatball will be the real one made out of with the meat. He goes, well, why? Well, I usually make it. It's like, let me show you. Come tomorrow. I'll make it just for you.
Right.
So, oh my God, this is real different. It's like, yeah. And they were small. So they were really like, why so small? Because you can eat it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Anyway, so that was the
And then
evolution.
maybe you can eat something else afterward.
Exactly. And they were really shocked when I served them on the side with the pasta and the sauce and then the meatball. And I was like, well, why is that? It's like, yeah, because you can taste them both separate, right? But that was the beginning of the real voyage into the different venture that I did. And every restaurant had a story. Every restaurant, it was me another layer of Italianness and a cuisine and a better cuisine, a different cuisine.
Right.
To when I got from Scampi, it was about the seafood and the fish. When I got to Amici Trattoria, it was about the trattoria, it was about the environment, the casual dining, which was coined by me at the time, and then they pick it up and ran with it. It was about having a good experience in dining, but not being like Antonello, which at the time was like the guy with the white, the bottom, the bow tie.
Yeah, totally.
It was like, come in, don't worry
like
about it.
Like the stuffy steakhouse type feel to it.
But also was the first time that I focused on completely a very, very strong and very ample wine menu. So Scampi was the first into it. We were tippy-toeing, had a great wine, but we didn't have the extent. But when I did the other one, when I did the Amici...
So it's 89, like the California scene has come a little bit farther. Like what was really, was the wine list more Italian-oriented, or were you embracing California at that point in time?
No. I was already very big, bringing a lot of Italian. I had, over the three different ventures that I did, I curated some really good clients, and they would trust me. I was bringing stuff from Italy, like on the ground. I bring them on the Vertine, nobody heard of. I brought, some wines that people didn't know what it was. But I sold it to people that were interested in Italian wine. And then the Italian government made a big push in 1985. They did the Italian brand, they made in Italy. It was coincided with the Tuscany City Sisters, the bicentennial. At the time, in 1985, we had a villa. We bought a villa in Tuscany. So I made some really strong friends in the wine industry. And I figured, okay, let's figure this one out. So when I opened Amici was about this beautiful little osteria, trattoria that was in Piazza Signoria in Florence. And the guy, the owner, Quinto, was an ex-tenor. And what I love about it, it was the amazing camaraderie. It was a small place underneath they call Buga. Buga, that means hole. So you go downstairs.
Right.
And it was basically fun and gregarious. So I wanted something like that. So I told him, can I use the logo that you have? They had a beautiful painting of people, amici, friends, right? So that's when I did the trattoria. And I said, well, there is a little more upscale from Scampi in a sense that there is people going to the theater, so it's an after theater matinee, it's one of those things. So I'm gonna bring in a very strong Italian wine. And that was the time where a lot of the imports that become really active. You know, you got the Giacosa, you got the Gaia, you got the
Right.
the first few Sassicaia, which
I was gonna say that was like right about the same time
yeah,
that the
or
Super
the
Tuscan
Laia.
IGT
Right,
came
right.
in, right?
I
so-
remember when I worked in Los Angeles, the guy who I worked for, he brought in a case in a big crate. He used to have a dealership of Ferrari. He bring the crate inside the pieces of Ferrari. This bottle of wine called Sassicaia. I already knew it because I was in Tuscany, but
Right.
nobody imported at the time.
Right.
So because it would be cool to sell it, it was like $45. I still have the book for it. So I remember when Antonio Moretti came and goes, look, I have this Italian wine. It's kind of it's not like a Chianti, but it's supposed to be like this more, they call it Super Tuscans. I said, what's the name? Oh, it's Sassicaia. I said, oh, really? What is it? Let me show. So he brought it in. He's like, yeah, I'll give you a good deal. It's $45. I'm like, I'll take a case. You know what I mean? So, and then he goes like, yeah, I have this other one. It's called Northern Elia. But if you buy a couple cases, 6-pack, I can give you like a couple bottle of this wine they make in Merlot. It's called Massetto. So I say, okay. And I remember there was a place in Lake Forest, old Lake Forest. It's called Sierra Cellar. So Franco Ramos used to work with Wine Warehouse.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, Mas, they're going to be out of business. And they have, at the time, Wine Warehouse had the Giacomo Bologna, the old big guns, right?
Right.
So they have some import. So he goes, go over there, you'll make some good deals. So I bought a lot of the wine, and I bought the wine rack as well. So when you came into Amici Trattoria, right in the entrance, there was a beautiful wine rack.
Right.
Gaia, Sassicaia, Ornellaia, all the stuff. So when Wine Spectator did the first time on the cover magazine of Wine Spectator, I was in Sonoma. I saw the Wine Spectator, and it goes, Italian blue chips wine arrived. It was the rack for my restaurant. I called my guy at the time, the junior partner, and say, hey, make sure that you keep that thing nice and clean.
Yeah,
You're
right.
going to sell out.
Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, that's how it started. And that's when we start doing all the wine tasting. The first time we start I told the...
Like pairings and tastings.
Well,
and...
yeah, it was like, remember the old style that people come in and taste your wine. And there was a guy with, what was the company? Vias, Miguel Schneider. He goes, yeah, I can never sell this wine. Yeah, the Giacosa. At the time, it was like $100 for a Barolo Villero single vineyards, right?
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy if you think about it.
Totally.
By the way, the wine was amazing. So I told Michele, how many of this wine you have in your bag? And he goes, well, usually I get a couple bottles for the month. I say, well, why don't we do this? Bring your top 2 bottles. That's how I started.
Right.
And I going to invite the best customers. They love wines. We'll do a nice evening. I make the food, see if they buy. So I had, I think 6, 8 people show up, right? At the time, it was new.
Right.
So I did the food, the wine. I remember I didn't even charge them for the food. They buy 9 cases of wine. Holy crap. And Miguel, every month they call me, he's like, let's do another one.
Right, can we do another one?
That's when we start doing all the Amarone, because my theory was, my philosophy at the time, and I believed it, and I still believe it today. If buyers are brokers, right, they're in between the customers and you.
Right.
So they are really the people that decide what the customer gets, right? And a lot of this wine, the buyer's making decisions like, oh, maybe it's too expensive. Oh, maybe they're not going to like this. And then, but if you have people that love wine and you put them in a chair and you serve them some nice food and you tell them a little bit about the wine, it changes the perspective and they taste it.
Well, and especially Italian wine, because I think Italian wine is just super made to go with food.
Right.
Whereas opposed to California, a lot of times, some of these Napa Valley cabs are more like a cocktail than they actually are.
They're
like,
easy.
if you're going to eat a big old piece of ribeye, but how often can you do that?
Right.
So, it's why I always tend to drink European wines. They're more food friendly. They're lighter.
But also
they're
remember,
more acid.
Yeah, but
Right.
remember, some of the wine, the Cabernet, the Merlot, are something they were drinking. So if you went to a restaurant and it was a choice in between Heights versus Camus, right? Camus Select versus Camus, you were okay with the price because you knew the wine. Right? But if I went to you and say, oh, I have this beautiful Barolo, it's $150, because that's at the time how much we sold for. $150, or even $130.
Right.
People's like, what is Barolo?
Right.
And it's not $130. I don't know what Barolo is. So now I have to explain to you what Barolo is, right? Let's say I do a good job. but you say, well, I spend $80 and I drink a wine that I really love. Why don't you bring me that? So the fact that you open a bottle and you give a guy a glass and he tastes it, he goes, wow, my God, this is really good. Now the $100, $150 does nothing.
It does nothing, yeah.
Because now his palate is happy.
Right.
And he's comfortable. And that was the reason why I went to that road. Because at the time, there was no wine tasting, there was nothing. And nobody was doing anything.
Right.
There was just something that I thought about it because I had some really wonderful customers that over time, they trust my thinking and they bought the wine from me. I used to bring special wine from Italy, nobody else had it. So that was the catalyst where I said, look, we're going to make this a part of our portfolio. And so I told Michele, here's what we're going to do. Every month, once a month, you bring 2 bottles of any wine you want to sell, and then we'll buy the wine and we'll sell it to the customers.
Right.
It's like, okay. And that's how it started.
Yeah. So simple, right?
Yeah.
But revolutionary at the time because nobody else was doing it. So.
Well, because the thing was we had this distance in between the customers and the mystery man who bought the wine and the mystery man who's going to buy the wine. Well, no, because the customers is in your table, is dining in your restaurants. And to me, it was like, okay, so I paid the $40 for a bottle of wine, right? Mm-hmm. I got 15, 20 customers. I want to promote this wine. Okay, so 15 divide 40. What is it cost me?
Nothing.
Nothing. Why am I waiting for?
Right.
Right? Because
if you want to change their mind, they have to taste it.
And by the way, if they taste it and they like it, they feel like, hey, let's have a bottle.
Right.
So you've done exactly what you were looking for.
And they're probably going to order the next one, same bottle the next time they come
Yeah,
in. Or
and-
they're going to ask you, what would you recommend this
And
time? And then all of a sudden you've got them hooked.
Also, remember, they had an experience.
Right.
What are they going to do with that experience? They're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
What people do best.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. Oh my
They go-
God, we were at Amici, had this amazing bottle of wine. You guys have to go. You have to try it.
So remember
and
the
then word of
time,
mouth goes around. and-
at the time John Downey was working on IT.
oh, yeah.
You know how many times John Downey used to call me? Because the time you had to dial it, right?
Right.
He used to call me and he says, Mas, what is the wine the guy's talking about?
Yeah.
Because they came to my restaurants,
Right.
right? And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
said like, oh yeah, the one Amici has it. It's from here, it's from there. And it's like, okay. So I tell, hey, John, is this? So John start buying and bringing it in the restaurant.
Right.
And then I said, wait a minute, why are they going there? So I told the people, hey, buy a few bottles for me, I'll give you a discount.
Exactly.
So then I built the other business,
Right.
which is fun as hell.
Right. And so then was Enotria the next iteration after that? The original Enotria?
So
Or was there something in between?
no. When I sold Amici, I was thinking about retire to Italy. My wife and I was talking about someplace. When I started dating her, she used to go to Santa Barbara. And in between, I learned about the San Ynez Valley.
Yep.
I love San Ynez Valley. I really did.
Yeah.
So my wife and I start talking about why don't we do this? We go. So I found a beautiful place right on in San Ynez, on the trail, went across from the little
Like Los Olivos?
before Los Olivos.
Okay, right.
And so I got this 10 acres with a house, with a 5,000 square feet barn. I was going to build the whole brand and everything else. I put it down a payment, and I was telling my wife about this wine country cuisine I want to do, this, and that. And of course, she starts from Santa Barbara to Carpinteria. She goes like, well, it's a small little town. What are the kids going to do? I had my 2 kids at the time were little. I said, what do you mean what they're going to do? They have a beautiful house, a farm. Yeah, the house is old. So anyway, by the time I got to Thousand Oak, I was ready to throw them out of the car. I go, okay. I called the lady. Well, the grandparents are going to be far away. And he goes, and then she used the silver bullet. The silver bullet is like, well, I was telling her, no, a lot of people from Orange County, they come up here. There's a beautiful, I gave them all the stats, right? But I wanted to do it. I really do, because I love the country. I
Right.
love the feeling. I knew there was something special coming up. So she goes, well, but you have such a big clientele. Why don't you do over there? At least in Orange County, you'll be exclusive. Here, it's just restaurants in the vineyard like everybody else.
Right.
I go, okay, she doesn't want to do it. So I called the lady. I said, listen, I hate to disappoint you, but I think I'm going to pull my offer from it, if you don't mind. He goes, oh, yeah, no problem at all. if I tell you what it was, you're gonna die. But I'd rather not to because it just still today I'm angry about it.
Okay.
So that same property is about $4 million
Yeah.
or more, and it was 780,000.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's when I say, maybe not. Then I was driving down to every day. I used to drive on Bristol,
Yeah.
and I see this.
Arnie's Manhattan
Arnie's.
delicatessen.
And I'm thinking, why nobody's touching that place? It's got a beautiful front yard. I can do something with it. So I called the real estate guy and I go like, hey. He goes, well, it's already leased, but they having problem go through the city. Why you want it? I goes, I'm so-and-so from, oh my God, yes, I know you very well. We love to talk to you. It's like, okay. So then they basically gave it to me. I paid them $1.25 a square foot. They gave me like a crap load of money for improvement, whatever. It was too good of a deal. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And that's why Onotria Wine Country Cuisine was basically born because I couldn't do it in a goddamn
Because you couldn't do
wine
it
country, so I did it over there. That's why I built the vineyards in the front.
Yeah,
like,
you plant some vines out
what they
front
say, fake until they make it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it was the greatest. Just to give an idea, I opened in 2005, November. I was going to put a sign in the windows. While I was cleaning, we were cleaning the floor. A lady walks in, goes, my God, what is this? I told him about it, what we're doing. I showed him the menu was very different, 5 different menus. Each one was to a bracket to wine. The wine wasn't within the wine list. It was very, very, then she was like, oh
It was
my God.
super progressive at the time.
Yes.
For sure.
Insanely progressive. And so the lady goes like, I have a party of 20. Would you be able to do this? Like, of course. And so then next day, somebody called. He goes, hey, you're a new restaurants. What are you doing? So I told him about it. Like, oh, we have a party of 10. Can you do it? It's like, well, we didn't even open the door. We were open like 3 days later, right? We were at a full house, packed house.
Right.
And so I want to make sure I didn't jingle my place. I never put the sign in the windows. Never. People ask me, are you open or closed? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It never mattered, really.
Yeah.
So from 2005 to 2008, when the market crashed, we were lending like crazy, doing, and that was probably that Onotria was the culminations of all these years and all the things, and I basically a full evolution of all the things from the beginning to now. It was probably the single most exuberant and exciting place I ever done it because I brought together all the things that I loved, from the food in the kitchen to the style of cooking, the education portion without the banging people on the head.
I mean, you had a great staff. You had people who worked for you forever, and it was.
It was also. It was so refreshing that we were able to do those things in the heart of Orange County, where people always tell me, "Oh, if you're not like Antonella, you're not going to do this." Oh, people don't understand that. You're not Pascal's. Like, no, I don't want to be any of these people.
No.
But my customers do. There were people come from everywhere. I remember the first year and a half. If you own a restaurant, if you were cooking, you would come to Onotria and see what we were doing. We were
absolutely.
Yeah, and so the idea that every course finish had a cheese. We have built a cheese refrigerations with the white wine and the temperature control, the beautiful wine room. We were selling wine to collector all over the place. I was managing people. It was, what it was also, it was a time that, if you really think about it, it was the apex of wine and food. I mean, the wine were flying. I mean, the Italian wine was like...
And the prices were still kind of reasonable.
Yeah,
and,
even probably Gaia and Sastikaya were like a little bit, but the rest was all really...
But even still, compared to what they are today, it was,
I mean...
pennies,
I pay for Massetto what I used to sell Massetto now, if you want it. But it also, what it was is also the kind of energy and the kind of location that I put... I was mad that I didn't go to the wine country. So I was really, really want to make sure that I had the same experience.
Right.
Like I want to go outside of my restaurants and be in a wine country.
Right.
People thought that I was doing it for them. Actually, it was selfish. I was doing it for me. I went and bought a tiller, and then I bought a house in Tustin for the same purpose.
Right.
It was a beautiful little ranch house, half acres. I used to do in 100. It was a 220 vines. 25 fruit trees. I was bringing mulberries. I mean, I had a rapini, grow my own. I mean, it was
Herb garden. And,
it was everything that I would have done if I was in San Ynez with the Orange County wallet, which was pretty impressive because it was pretty.
Right.
And then the stock market fall. We still did it very, very good. And we did. We really did. I mean, obviously, almost 50% of the business overnight went to hell because the market.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I remember.
Yeah. So, but actually, we never slowed down on the things that we did. We never slowed down on the quality we did.
Right.
In fact, actually, price-wise, it didn't affect me as much because I already was buying the best there was. So for me, the president was the thing. You know what I mean? And so so I made some adjustments in the personnel, which I didn't fire anybody. I just kind of moved people around, and I told them right away, look, you're going to get less hours, but you're still working. If you find something better, please do, but they didn't. And then eventually what happened was that we ran into the fact that the guy I was leasing from was lying because it was a land lease, and he didn't have the deal that he told me he did, which would have been he would have bought the property and I would have kept the restaurants.
Right. And you ended up with like two landlords, right? So like one guy owned the parking lot, one guy owned like the building. And
it was highly disappointing because you had the 15 people working for me. We were back to about 65-70% of what we used to do.
Right.
Not quite, but we were
working towards that.
Yeah, we were towards it. You could tell. And I had a big, I knew there was time also because, as you well know, in the restaurant business, the place was 15 years old. So there were certain things that I needed to make as a change.
Right.
And I was going to. But now having a lease, that was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I can't do nothing. And the fact that they're on the end, they couldn't make a deal, and I was basically the casualty. In fact, the place was knocked down completely because the lady got the apartment and the parking. That's when I decided, you know what, I'm done with this.
I still can't get used to it every time I drive by.
I know, me too.
It's so bizarre.
And the funny, because I drive every day, it's like, okay, that's enough now. No more flashback.
You got to go a different way.
Yeah, I got to find a different way to go. But the thing is, like, I thought in my mind, after that, I don't want to do anything else because what am I going to do now? It's just like, okay, this is it. So when I started going and do all the things, it was fun. But then COVID brought me back. And
right. Well, you were actually selling wine for a little while.
I know.
So.
Well, that was fun. I have to say, that was fun. And actually, it kind of opened my eyes to see, sometime you hear people, I'll go to San Francisco, best cuisine. You go to New York, best cuisine. You go best cuisine. Well, I actually went there, and I went to sell mangalitza and wine. So I saw those cuisine, and I realized how good we really were.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not like this. It's just like a very refreshing to know that you are on your A game, on the edge, on the time, on the trends, on the pulse of the consumer, and as well as culinary speaking to the provider, which was very refreshing for me. So when COVID came and then I find myself back in the business, it was a kind of cheeky.
Well, because originally you opened that place to
for just a shop.
Yeah, for just a shop. And
for actually the wine buyers, not for the consumer, because there was no retail. But kind of cheeky because as I went around and doing wine event for other restaurateurs and my old customers come in, it's like, yeah, we love what you're doing, but we really like you to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they start kind of putting the seed in my head. And, once you start doing things that you're really good at and you really love, then you realize, I can do this. So I started with the speakeasy, basically. But during that period, I realized how much love there was for me and for what I do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a...
everybody missed Enotria.
And
it's one of those things.
Actually it was kind of really neat because I feel like a little bit I was betrayed my customers. Like they love me so much and I'm just a douchebag because I'm doing all the other things.
Right.
You know, like, oh, no, I'm never going over to restaurants again. And the only thing they ask me is like, please cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Please,
exactly.
Let's bullshit about wine a little bit.
So let's talk about your place a little bit. I mean, it's small. And
Yes.
so you're able to run it with one guy in the kitchen and maybe one server. And so it keeps your overhead super low because you're not paying the crazy labor cost that is killing everybody in the restaurant industry.
Very nice rent.
Yeah, very nice rent is good. And
But actually, there's something a little holistic about this because the way it was born, the why it was born, right? So, what I thought, what my customers asked me for, what they were missing. And that's funny about restaurateur and business people. You got to listen to your people.
I mean, partially they were missing the food, but they were missing you. They're missing the experience,
they were missing
what
the
we're talking
relationship,
about.
right?
And the experience, just like we talked about.
So when I say, okay, fine, let's do this. We close the front door, we open the back door. We'll do one event, 5 wines, 5 course, and you can buy the wine.
Right.
Why? Because that's what they were missing the most.
Right.
They were missing the day-by-day stuff. You go there, okay, sure, maybe Mauro, maybe Raimundo, whatever. But they were missing the energy, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, we go to places, and it's not the same. So, and then I get back at the mojo, like, I'm missing this too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it's fun to go to New York and have all the wine buyers, and then after you have this beautiful speech, everybody clapping, and then they hustle you for $5 a bottle of wine when they're going to sell it for 5 times that. But this is different. This is different, right? This is me. This is my people. This is the people that.
It's personal.
Yeah.
You're touching the people. You're
also,
not just like.
And also, it's a thank you because. These are the people that, over the years, they allow my kids to go to college. They allow me to have the life that I have. So it's almost like, why am I resisting this? This is so natural to me. This is so natural to us. We good. And if there's anything, I want to do more of it. I want to do better, right? So the fact that the small scale.
Right.
The fact that it's more immediate, it's more personal.
The fact that you're not open 2 days a week, I think helps too.
Yes,
right?
yes,
I've always said, like, Mike at the Hobbit, like the reason he was able to do that for so long was because he only did service so many nights a week, and it was only one seating, and then you were kind of done.
And believe it or not, it's important.
Yeah.
It's really energy,
Yeah, because I mean, when you're just, in the mind of like, oh my God, we got so many covers, and you're working through it, like you're not as happy, and you're not really projecting that experience to your customers.
Let's be honest.
So now you do.
You're burnout and you're kind of whatever. But now it's different because we get to do the things that we love to do and the customer love that we do. We do a lot of food and wine pairings. People come in and we create the menu.
I mean, that's
for them.
like your Saturday night thing, right?
But even on a regular night, like tomorrow night, we have a 2 party of 4. They come in.
Right.
I do the same thing just for them that I do on a Saturday. So
Right.
I'll have 3, maybe 4 wines, and then at the end they buy the wines. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what happened is in the big scale, the wine event that we used to do together, we do together. That's the big scale.
Right.
But people come into those and they say, hey, would you do it for a party of 6? Would you do for I'll do it every night, right? Because as you know, I'll open any bottle they want. I don't care. And
because
so
they're probably going to buy it.
Exactly, lots of them.
Yeah, right.
So, but also because that's really the mantra. That's what I was missing, and that's what they're missing. Because, without saying much, but you can go to a lot of restaurants and get a good dish pasta. You can go to a lot of restaurants and have a nice steak. You can go to a lot of restaurants and have a lot of nice things. But there's going to be very, very few, if none, restaurants you can go and you have that personal touch.
I was going to say, what are the chances you go into any other restaurant in Newport Beach and the owner comes up and like waits on you and talks to you and pours you wine
and actually knows what he's talking about?
Exactly.
Which is
and then
small
that
secret.
Too. Yeah, exactly.
A small secret. But also because remember, a lot of these people we have been together for so long.
Right.
We know each other. Even the people that we don't know personally, but we know each other. And there is a level of trust that allows me to do the things that I am passionate about. So for me to bring in white asparagus, to bring in scampi from Italy, bring turbo,
truffles,
it's just normal to me.
Yeah.
We do porchetta, we do rabbit, whatever, wild boar. We can do it. First of all, because it's in scale. So we can do it because we can do it for 10 people. We can do it for 15 people. We can do it for 20 people. So you don't have to think about, what about 300 people shows up? And then what? You know what I mean? And then that gives us the opportunity, unlike in the old days, we still have the menu and then you have a 5 special. Now it's the reverse.
Right.
I have no special. The whole menu is.
Yeah.
So next morning I want to change. I go in. I got new things.
You just print up another one and
8 by 11, and we're
Right.
done. And I make fun of it. It's this beautiful parchment. I burn it and get you a new one. But it gives you the constant flexibility and the nuance that it's on one end for a lot of restaurateurs it's challenging. They like
it allows you to work with seasonal ingredients
Yes.
when you get them too, and
Yeah.
it allows you to change your menu, and you're not like forced into this like, hey, this is the menu, we stick to it, and then we redo the whole menu and it's all different. It just changes a little every day.
Yeah, and also it gives you the sense of freshness that
Right.
you want because do you imagine you work in a steakhouse and you have a 5 steak on the menu 30 years later. You hit the cow. You become vegan.
Yeah.
You become
And I
vegetarian.
mean-
I'm done.
and
I don't
I-
want to smell another steak.
And oh my God, it's like every place is a steakhouse in Orange County too, and it seems like, and it's like, for me, that's like the one thing that very rarely will I order when I go out, because I can cook a really good steak at home. I can go
Yeah.
buy a nice piece of meat and cook it. Like I'm looking for the rabbit, I'm looking for the duck, I'm looking for the
Yeah, or even the short rib. because
right.
I don't
Yeah,
want to spend
exactly.
4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't want to braise it all
So
day. And
it's funny
I don't want to
because
use a pressure cooker.
it's funny because the other things that kind of I've seen over the years, right? And I keep on telling people all the time. This was a verbiage that we used years ago about Onotria. Onotria, it's not a trend, it's not a fashion, it's a lifestyle.
Right.
It's true because trends come and go, fashion come and go. Lifestyle is real, is authentic. That's what we are.
Right.
I am this whether I cook or I'm not cooking.
Yeah, right.
This is it. If you're looking for another Massimo, it's not showing up today. Trust me. So, because it's legit. There's nothing else. I do this all the time. This is what I love. This is who I am, and the people around me, they know. There's no second guess what they're going to expect. But I truly, honestly, truly believe that the customers we have is the best asset we ever have. So we have to love them. We have to take care of them. You have to respect them. I found insulting to me how many times I've been in a conversation with the restaurateur. They keep on insulting the customer by saying, "Oh, they don't understand this." Well, okay.
Isn't that your job to make them understand?
Exactly. How many
to
times-
educate them, and
Yeah,
because they're all starving for that, right?
Even when I used to sell wine, how many somebody told me, "Yeah, but this is you got hand sell. What is your job?
Yeah, right.
What do you do?
I know, right.
What do you just order wine from me?
Right.
You don't need. It's silly.
Well, and doesn't every sommelier in my mind wants that wine that you have to hand sell, right?
Exactly.
That one, you pick your 5 or 6 special ones, and it's like, hey, trust me, let me show you something different.
Well,
Let me,
Don't you know that you're not a supermarket? You're a
Right.
restaurant. So people come here. They want you
Right.
to lead, take over, make sure that they have a good experience. Yeah, you want to pick up the gem that you think is a gem, and maybe people don't think it is, but it's okay. Show them.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, how many times I'm going to sit in this conversation and listen to this false preaching?
yeah, well,
You know what? I was one of them. I say, guys, time out.
yeah.
You're weird. You're making living on something that is so noble and beautiful, and you're bitching about it, complaining about it.
Right.
About your own customers. So what it says about you? So basically, what you're saying, you just compromise on everything because you wanted their dollars, or you're just going to do the right thing and listen to them and make sure that, yes, we can come close to where you are, but we want to show you something that is really special.
Right.
I bring in for you. So for me, when I think about the new location, I jokingly say it's my retirement, because when you're retired, you get to really do the things you want to do,
Yeah, right.
It doesn't compromise you.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I don't care. I care more.
Yeah.
Because it means a lot to me, right?
Yeah.
But
And
also
you don't want to go play golf every day.
No.
You don't want to
just smaller ball,
right? I mean,
just smaller ball.
smack a little white ball and chase it around.
But also remember, if you don't have the needs that you used to do, your ego, your this, your that,
Right.
now you're just you.
Right.
And your customers. And somebody Saturday night and it's like, I cannot believe how happy you are. It's like, why should I be
It's
happy?
really no different than cooking for somebody in your home.
Yeah.
Is what I always feel like. I feel like every time that I come there, it's like you're just like in your house cooking for people.
That's the point. It really is. That's
Right.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
In fact, my girlfriend can tell you that is my house. I only go sleep over there. Wherever she lives, I just go sleep there.
Exactly.
Because I got the coffee machine, I got my TV, I got my soccer. I got
Exactly. You got your espresso, you got your soccer, you got plenty of wine, you got all the food you could possibly want. Like it's fantastic.
But like my my country song says, I got everything I need and nothing that I want.
Yeah.
It's all here. It's all here. So it's a beautiful, and the fact that actually my daughter works with me, that is that was a game changer to me. That was like the push that I need. And when she says, "Hey, Dad, why don't we keep it?" And I'm thinking, the only thing I think is like, I could never convince any of my kids to do this, and not that I wanted to, because if it's a
No, I mean they have to find their own way.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that she loves it and the people love her, it's like it brings another level. You know, like you want to even on one end you want her to be the star of the show, and the other hand you want to make sure that the little universe is healthy and beautiful for her to shine in it. It's amazing.
Right.
So that's the story.
Well, sweet, man. Here,
Let's have it.
let's have a little bit of wine here. So cheers, man.
Salute.
Salud. And I hope people will come see Massimo at Wine Country, Onotria Wine Country Cuisine, drink some wine, come to one of his pairings. Do it.
A lot of fun.
Guy's a genius. Thanks, man.
Salute.
Cheers.
So.